Star Fox is one of the more frustrating franchises owned by Nintendo. From the large gaps between entries to the constant remakes/reboots of Star Fox 64, it's a franchise often found spinning its wheels. However, we're here today to talk about something positive, and that is Star Fox Assault, and more specifically, the story of Star Fox Assault. Much has been said about the game's somewhat stiff control scheme and the amazing orchestral score. However, I feel that the narrative of the game is very rarely discussed, even amongst fans of the series. So I'll be using this video to correct that, and present my belief that this story should be the standard that Nintendo aspires to in their plots. Something I really respect about Star Fox Assault is the commitment to being a continuation of the franchise narrative. This isn't another reboot/remake like 64, or the 3DS port, or Zero. It's a full-blooded sequel to Star Fox Adventures and continues the story from where that one left off. I'll quickly do a synopsis of the game so we're all on the same page as to what happens, and then I'll be separating the narrative elements into the characters, the dialogue, the themes and the structure. Star Fox Assault takes place 1 year after Star Fox Adventures, and features the Star Fox team truly in their prime. Gone is the derelict Great Fox full of pizza boxes and one functioning R-Wing. Now we have a fully primed Dreadnought and the entire team kitted out in new threads, which also happen to be my favourite looks for these characters. Slippy is now the team's engineer, as well as a pilot. Crystal has joined the team, replacing Peppy, and Falco has also retaken his place as the team's resident shit-talker.
Playing the hero again, huh, Foxy? Hey, more power to you, buddy. Me? I hate the cold.
Peppy isn't removed from the team, however, as he joins Rob 64 in the Great Fox in an advisory role, which I feel is a natural place for him to be. This is easily my favourite version of Star Fox, with everyone having very clearly defined roles. Fox is the leader, Falco is the second in command as well as their race pilot, Slippy is the engineer, Crystal is the telepath, and Peppy with Rob are technical and field support. This dynamic helps the characters feel more distinct and makes them seem like a professional unit who use their specific skill sets in coordination with each other. The decision to keep the last game's events canon paid off well here, with Crystal's inclusion and Dinosaur Planet's appearance later, which is now named Sauria. Fighting this upgraded Star Fox is a new foe named the Aperoids, cybernetic insects that can assimilate machines and organic life through an infection process. The Aperoids operate as a hive mind under their queen, who wants all life to become Legion, seeing herself and her race as naturally superior. The game opens in the middle of a battle in space between what's left of Andross's army, now led by his nephew, Andrew Oikini, and the Cornerian army. After the battle turns in Andrew's favour, the Star Fox team then arrive via a portal. They chase Andrew down to the surface of Fortuna, the nearby planet, and in the middle of a confrontation, Andrew is taken out by some kind of cybernetic insect, later identified as an Aperoid. After a tough battle, they kill it and take the creature's core memory. Starting the story in media res was a smart choice. It helps to acknowledge the past through Andross's forces and Oikini now leading them, and show how they compare to both the new threat, by his boss robot being quickly taken out by a single Aperoid, and by the new and improved Star Fox team. The team being revealed in the way they do also provides a great contrast to what Star Fox looks like during Adventures, where they seemed a lot more ragtag. Here they appear like an extension of the Cornerian army, rather than a mercenary team. It provides a clean separation from the past stories, and having the foot firmly on the gas gives the opening a great deal of energy. Star Fox is then asked to go to an outpost on Katina to retrieve a second core memory, which will help the Cornerian Defence Force find a weakness for the Aperoids. Fox takes out another large enemy, but Pigma steals the memory to try and sell it. The next 3 levels are about chasing Pigma down. Firstly, we go to the space hideout known as Sargasso, which is where Star Wolf are reintroduced as rivals to Star Fox. For China, then the meteor field are next, which is where Pigma is finally caught. He is assimilated by the core memory, turning him into one of the Aperoids. Fox quickly puts him out of his misery. On the way back to Corneria, Crystal gets a psychic SOS from Sauria. This forces the team to go there and help to liberate the planet, which has been absolutely decimated by the invading force. After helping the dinosaur planet, Star Fox learn that during the mission, Corneria was also invaded and is now on the verge of being destroyed. Fox does what he can to help, but General Pepper is then assimilated by the Aproids, leading to a boss fight. He's helped by Wolf, and ultimately Pepper is saved from the infection before it fully takes hold. Star Fox then take the fight to the Aproid homeworld with Starwolf and the remnants of the Cornerian military. During this mission, most of the military forces are wiped out, leaving just the two teams of pilots. Because of a large shield blocking the way, Peppy makes a sacrifice here to open an entrance into the inner stronghold. Unfortunately, the Great Fox itself explodes, leaving the team mourning the loss of both him, Rob 64, and their home base. Star Fox enters the planet and confronts the Queen Aproid. Starwolf then make their own sacrifice by drawing some of the enemy's focus away from their rivals. After a tough fight, the Queen is finally destroyed, taking out the rest of the Aproids. Fox and the others then have a quiet moment reflecting on all those that made sacrifices in the conflict, including Starwolf, who the team believed to have died. Peppy is then revealed to have escaped the explosion with Rob in an escape pod. Fox thanks his friends for their help and sacrifices before the game ends with the team flying back to Corneria. Star Fox Assault is broken into a series of missions that play out in a linear fashion. Unlike Star Fox 64, there are no branching paths and only one definitive ending, which is slightly disappointing. But the goal here was obviously to make every mission feel like a distinct mini-story that builds up as it progresses. Let's look at the Ficina mission as an example. Firstly, we start with a briefing to establish the stakes of the mission and what the general goal is. As this is a returning planet from Star Fox 64, we also get some flavour text explaining that there is now a climate control centre on the surface to help control the blizzards. This is a nice touch too, because it's going to be an important location for the second part of the mission, in which you have to go inside and protect it. Pigma is brought up here, reminding the player of the broader goal of stopping the Aproids. This is crucial because the team's goals are always the focus, them helping along the way is mostly a bonus. It's also mentioned that the team won't be able to help you until you complete the objective, which adds some tension and makes them feel more vital to your success. Those who remember the 64 title will know how useless they could come across, so it's good to make them sound more useful than they are. There's a small hitch in the plan when Fox trips the security alarm and drones descend to attack him. This second act change is always some kind of escalation in stakes, and usually results in a changed objective or gameplay style. Fox escapes on Falco's R-Wing, which is a cool moment of teamwork between them, and then we come to the third act, the boss fight. Pigma appears and uses the core memory he stole in the Katina mission to bring some of the climate control machinery to life. This is used to show what kind of danger the Aproids really represent, which is their ability to infect machines and convert them into weapons for their side. This is also some foreshadowing for later, because the same thing happens to General Pepper, which turns him into the boss of the Corneria level. So we can see by using Ficina as an example how the game is structured and what kinds of pros and cons it has. By making the missions sort of mini narratives, it allows ideas to be seeded in a natural way for later, such as the abilities of the Aproids, or how characters might learn something in one mission that becomes useful in another, such as when Wolf gives Fox advice on the Corneria level, which then comes back into play during the finale. This feels very much like episodes of a TV show. It's reflective of something like Thunderbirds, which was a key influence on Star Fox. I think it does have some downsides, however. The 3-act structure is used every single time, and towards the end, it can feel incredibly predictable as to how these missions will play out. I also don't know if the pacing is quite as strong as it could have been either. You spend 3 of the 10 missions chasing after Pigma. That's nearly a third of the game not focusing on the new enemy characters that feature here, which is a strange decision. I think the game might have benefited being split into acts, which could have focused on different scenarios. This could have allowed the characters more time to shine, and especially Fox's arc to maybe have a bit more space to develop. My pitch would be to have his newfound sense of maturity really be tested earlier, maybe with some dialogue about his regret over not searching out Oikini after 64 because of his focus in taking Andros out. I think the mission should have also had different characters be the focus. Like, how does Falco feel about being part of the team again due to his absence in adventures? Him reckoning with this in Sargasso would have made a lot of sense alongside his gang background. Does Crystal feel comfortable in this new team, or has she not yet found her place? I think it would have been interesting to explore if the destruction of her homeworld was something caused by the Aproids. A personal motivation would have given the character something to do, as well as provide a contrast to Fox, who's mostly in it this time around for altruistic reasons. This taking place on Saria would have been interesting. Maybe she considers this a sort of second home for her. Fox and Crystal would naturally have a more interesting relationship to this planet than the others. This kind of being relegated to a cameo from Tricky is a shame, but still a nice moment for those who loved adventures. From the opening cutscenes of the game, it is firmly established that this is truly a sequel to 64, by having many characters reappear from there after their absences in adventure. Andrew has left Star Wolf and now assumed command of the remnants of Andros' forces. This is a natural direction for the character to go and helps to transition the focus onto the Aproids, with Andrew's floating head machine being destroyed by one. Pigma, who appears later, has also left Star Wolf and doesn't seem to be doing anything with his life. Him stealing the data core and being assimilated by the Aproids is a great excuse to finally end him and give Fox his little slice of vengeance after Pigma betrayed his father. There's also a great moment of reflection on Fox's part during the end of the Ficina mission, where he contemplates something Peppy says about those with strong wills turning from ally to enemy.
Machines are machines, after all. Those without strong wills can be easily turned to evil.
Those without strong wills, allies or enemies?
What is it, Fox?
Nothing. That sounds like someone I know, that's all.
In my opinion, Fox could be thinking about Pigma betraying his father here. This is reinforced, I think, by the cut right after to Pigma's ship floating in space. This isn't super in-depth characterisation, but it does make you think that Pigma was a person who made the choice to do the things he does. Wolf and Leon are both still working together, but now run a large hideout for criminals known as Sargasso. As with Andrew, I appreciate this development for them. It makes them feel like characters with actual lives out of what we see, and especially makes Wolf feel a bit more well-rounded than how he's portrayed before. Slippy and Falco aren't too far removed from their characters in the previous games. Slippy is the least changed of all the characters really. He does feel like somewhat the same person he was previously, but there has been an attempt to make him feel like less of a pushover, shown by Slippy no longer being as tolerant to Falco's insults.
Falco, Slippy, the airborne enemies are all yours.
Gotcha. Try not to make a mess of things, Slippy.
Give it a rest, Falco. Seriously. Show your beak for one.
The only change made to Slippy's character is the addition of Beltino Toad, his father, who I'll talk about later. Falco appears to be more of a team player, while still maintaining the edge that makes him stand out. I appreciate the developers making the team respond more to his insults and comments. It makes them feel more familiar with each other and that they're friends. While they're very tiny moments, Falco does have the occasional bit of dialogue that shows he's genuinely very committed to helping people and is taking the threat seriously. For example, telling Slippy to take the Aproid seriously during the Ficina mission, or expressing his disgust at the damage done to Saria. Peppy, as stated before, has now assumed more of a supporting role. I feel this allows his fatherly nature on the team to come out more naturally. An odd element to him though is his lack of comment regarding the Aproids. It's revealed in the story that the Aproids have appeared before, and given that James McCloud appears as an illusion in the final boss fight, it's an easy assumption that the original Star Fox fought them. He does react to the first Aproid seen in the story, but that's it really.
No, it can't be.
I'm a bit conflicted in regards to his sacrifice towards the end of the game. On the one hand, the game does have quite the body count, so I think keeping him alive does kind of make sense. It gives the game a more hopeful ending. However, I think there needed to be some sort of character death here to help mark the Aproids as a real threat. Peppy's character doesn't really have anywhere else to go from here, so this would have made Fox's character arc resonate more and given the other characters something to react to. It might have fit the more space opera tone they were going for here as well. I think General Pepper would have been the ideal character to die here. He's been here since the beginning, and his passing could represent a shift in the hierarchy of the universe. It also would have forced Fox to contemplate Wolf's message a bit more. Fox, I feel, has benefited the most from his characterisation. His personality is kind of a mix between the stoic leader from 64 and the more expressive character he was in Adventures. He's to the point and takes things seriously, but will occasionally let his guard down and crack a joke now and again.
On its way. What's the situation?
Well, I got my hands full. But what else is new?
Done. Here's your landmaster.
Let me know if you get lonely and I'll drop by.
Nah, all I need is the landmaster.
Transmission complete. It's all yours, Hawks.
Great. Good to see the transmission system's targeting is as sterling as ever.
You understand why he's the leader, but also that when not on the job he's probably more relaxed and affable. He feels like an idealised version of himself. If I could compare him to another character, it would be Solid Snake from Sons of Liberty, a man who in that game was incredibly self-assured in what his role in the world was. Fox even gets a character arc in this game. It's not exactly the deepest change ever, but I'll get into that in a later section of the video. Moving on to Crystal, there is kind of an elephant in the room with her. When she was created for the last game, I think it's obvious that the focus was on her design rather than her role in the game. The little character she had there has been expanded on, and now she feels like she has an actual personality. Her backstory of searching for the reason her planet was destroyed in Adventures is kind of glossed over. She doesn't ever mention it or seem to be that upset over it. It's not a massive issue, but it is an odd thing to never acknowledge. Crystal does fit in very well with the other characters, and feels like she's been there forever however, which is great considering in her first appearance she didn't really speak to anyone apart from in the ending of Adventures. She's kind and cares about other people but isn't naive. She'll watch your back, but also won't let you get away with messing up.
Here we go!
Hey, Slippy, don't get cocky.
Now on to the new characters. Joining Star Wolf as their third pilot is a Black Panther named Panther, a wannabe romantic and skilled fighter. His banter with both his own team and the members of Star Fox is incredibly enjoyable to listen to.
Then where did Pigma go?
Ah, the lovely Crystal. Words do you no justice. I am Panther Caroso. Here's to us. Ow.
Huh? Who's this idiot?
Quiet bird.
What was that?
I feel Panther fits into the Star Wolf team well, and he has a distinct personality separate from Wolf and Leon. Beltino Toad is the only other new character introduced, and while he doesn't really add too much, it was interesting to see a parent of one of the Star Fox team who wasn't dead. Beltino has been a background element in Star Fox since his inclusion in the Nintendo Power Guide, where it's mentioned that him and the Cornerian Defense Force helped to build the Blue Marine from Star Fox 64. So him being involved here is a nice pull. Like I mentioned with Wolf, I feel that just by the nature of Beltino's existence and his dialogue with Slippy, it gives the characters extra dimension and a sense of an outer life. Him being responsible for the plan to destroy the Aperoids is a natural way to be included in the story. The Aperoids are another new element brought to the Star Fox universe, but I feel that they're probably best discussed when I talk about the themes of the game and how they work as the antagonists of the story. My only real thought about him at this time is that I feel that they could have used a scene introducing the Queen. A great moment could have been during the scene where Pigma is sleeping and he starts to be assimilated by the core memory. You could have had a bit of dialogue referencing her, or have the Queen itself talk to Pigma. As shown in the first cutscene, this is clearly aiming for a space opera vibe like Star Wars, but it also knows you're here to have fun, and the game is full of silly dialogue that basks in a sort of a B-movie vibe. The dialogue in Assault strikes an interesting balance between making the story feel theatrical, while the characters feel well-rounded and fun. It gives the game an optimistic tone, not too dissimilar to Resident Evil.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Or Devil May Cry.
Rest in peace, little chicken. It's been a bash.
The banter between the Star Fox team is a particular highlight throughout the game. Now, I'm all for yucking it up with the Star Fox memes and hearing lines again that have become popular through internet culture, but my investment in the characters tends to waver when this happens. Star Fox take the threat seriously when they need to, and make jokes when they don't. The characters all sound like natural extensions of who they were in the previous games. It helps give the games a through line, even though we've had some very different experiences from 64 to Adventures to here. The script also features an amount of variation. Whether the characters are discussing the current mission or they're contemplating deeper things, it's mostly written okay. An exception to this I think is Fox's final speech. I think it just veers too much into sappy or preachy territory. It doesn't seem like something that would have been on his mind when he says it, and it's not as grounded as I think it should have been.
So, I guess that's the end of the Aperoids.
So the whole thing was just one big entity. She tried to bypass evolution by stealing souls, but you have to be born with one.
All ships, evacuate at maximum velocity.
I don't know how it fares as a translated version of the Japanese script. I'm not familiar enough with that version to say, but this speech at the end does feel like something that might have been lost in translation. A critique I do have, however, is how the dialogue itself sounds in the game. You could consider this a nitpick, but I've never been a fan of the filter put over the voices in game during certain cutscenes.
On its way. What's the situation?
Well, I got my hands full, but what else is new?
I understand it's trying to convey a conversation spoken over radio, but it's inconsistent. During pre-rendered cutscenes it sounds fine, but in the scene we saw a moment ago, Fox should sound normal because we're essentially next to him when he speaks. A particularly bad example of this is Panther, who sounds like someone trying to use Discord when his internet connection isn't the strongest.
You wanna ride on my wing, Crystal?
As long as I'm covering Fox.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yes, the game about fuzzy animals fighting in space has themes to talk about. The biggest theme on display is duty, or I guess you could call it responsibility. This is an interesting topic to discuss considering Fox's motivations in the previous games. In 64, it was a revenge mission against Andros for the death of James, and in Adventures, it felt to me like Star Fox did that mostly for financial gain. Just to clarify, I'm not saying that the team has never been altruistic, but it's not until Assault where the only goal is to stop the potential destruction of the universe. Fox is presented at the beginning of the game as a pretty straightforward sort of character, who seems entirely focused on the mission at hand. But as the pressure mounts, we see who Fox really is and what he's not willing to sacrifice to achieve the win. In the book Story by Robert McKee, true character is summed up as: true character is revealed in the choices a human being makes under pressure. The greater the pressure, the deeper the revelation, the truer the choice of the character's essential nature. This is why I feel the Aperoids work really well as the antagonists of this game. They're not deep, but they're exceptionally good at making the characters in the story make difficult decisions. From the same book, there's another great quote about what makes a good antagonist. A protagonist and his story can only be as intellectually fascinating and emotionally compelling as the forces of antagonism make them. I'm not talking about the gameplay in this video, but I also feel like the style of the game helps to reinforce these ideas as you're constantly on the move and in the action, especially on the harder difficulties. The theme is mostly summed up in this exchange during the Corneria mission.
Fox, let me give you one piece of advice. Don't hesitate. When the time comes, just act.
It's not so much that Fox struggles to do the right thing, but that he has trouble putting aside his personal feelings, shown when he hesitates fighting General Pepper, and when he must be the one to rally his team during the mission on the Aperoid homeworld. During the General Pepper occasion, he's backed up by Wolf and Peppy, which helps avert a potential tragedy. But when Peppy sacrifices himself, he reacts in shock, but is quickly forced to pull himself together to direct his friends into the final confrontation. We then see how much he's grown by his reaction to the Aperoid Queen impersonating his father. There's a nice touch here with the fake James McCloud telling Fox to give up. It's the absolute opposite thing he would have ever told his son, giving away the illusion immediately. I don't know how much sense it actually makes for a ghost of James McCloud to appear here, but I think it could be because she's using information pulled from General Pepper's earlier assimilation. Another theme of the game is the idea of teamwork, and I don't mean in a cheesy cartoon way. The Aperoids all function as a hive mind which lets them coordinate and create the most chaos they can. They cluster together to overwhelm their targets and assimilate you, so you become one of them. It's made clear that the only way to win is by everyone pulling together. This is shown by Starwolf ultimately pushing Fox on to get the win. The Aperoids they draw away in the final mission are invulnerable, and they most likely would have killed the team here. As mentioned before, Wolf also provides Fox advice that helps him mature and grow. He needed to learn this, and by sharing information and advice, it again gives the advantage. An idea briefly considered by Fox earlier that I mentioned was when he thinks to himself about Pigma's lacking of a strong will. Another interpretation of that, I think, could be that he's thinking of Wolf as someone who has the will to change, which is interesting. Yeah, these themes and ideas have been done before and been done better, but I like the things the story does considering that the single player aspect of Star Fox Assault came second after the multiplayer. If I had to sum up what I get from the narrative of Star Fox Assault, it's the feeling of closure. So many of the story beats in the game intentionally feel like they were crafted to tie off elements from the other games in order to give a clean break, potentially for a title that would have come out after this. I feel like this is slightly hinted at in the very first mission. One of the two bosses of this level is Oikini, whose ship transforms into a facsimile of his head and a pair of hands. This is obviously a callback to Andross's boss fight in Star Fox 64, but its placement here at the start of the game is quite a cheeky way to suggest that this is going to be a different experience. For example, the role that Pigma has in the story. He hadn't been seen since the N64 entry, in which it was established what his role was in the death of James McCloud. That we finally get to see him get some sort of comeuppance for it feels intentional. It has the added benefit of referencing a boss fight from that game. But I can't help but wonder if there's some sort of poetic irony to his fate. Pigma joining up with Andross only to end up resembling one of his twisted designs feels like dramatic irony, but maybe I'm just reaching. Another element of this closure is the tour through many locations that will be familiar to long-time fans, such as Katina, Ficina, or the meteor field from Star Fox 64. Saurio makes an appearance from Adventures. These sit alongside the new locations such as Fortuna, Wolf's hideout on Sargasso, and the Aproid homeworld in the finale. I think the Aproids are a great antagonist for the game. The idea of a hive mind controlled by a single entity isn't exactly an original concept, especially in science fiction. But as I said before, I think they're really good at squeezing out drama and some interesting moments from the characters. The only thing I think was needed was some sort of big loss or failure for the team to chew over. I mentioned a character death earlier, but this didn't necessarily need to happen, just some sort of moment to elevate the Aproids into a true threat. To quote John Truby in his book The Anatomy of Story, create an opponent who is exceptionally good at attacking your hero's greatest weaknesses. All of the quotes and the books therefrom were also used in the video from Lessons from the Screenplay, when they discussed the Joker's role as the antagonist in The Dark Knight. That's a fantastic video, which you should also check out for some expanded points on that. I've been critical in some places, but I still do truly believe that there's a surprising amount of depth in what's essentially an arena shooter with some on-rails environments, and I think that's very reflective of Nintendo's ambitions during this period. Consider this, the Metroid Prime trilogy, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. There was a lot of effort made to make these entries feel different or more expanded on than the others in the franchises. It will always be my favourite era of the company, but I think after the direness of the 2010s, we're back to another golden period. I just hope that we get a new Star Fox game soon, and one that continues the story of this Star Fox team.